Hey basketball coaches and basketball players, today I'm going to talk to you about the Horns basketball offense. What it is, if you can run it with your team, and just overall a couple of plays that you could run inside of this offense. Let's get down and let's check this out. So basically in the Horns offense, you are generally going to have your two tallest players, usually your power forward and your center, at the high post. You're going to have your point guard or the ball handler who has the ball at the point, and then you're going to have a guard and a forward in the corners. From here, there are a trillion different plays that you could technically run. However, you can, sometimes have guards in the high post and a forward in the high post instead, and there's different options for this. Sometimes you can have a point guard in the post and a shooting guard or even a center up top. There's a few different options that you could run. However, the most common is to set it up like this, where you would have your two tallest in the high post. A very basic offense that you would run out of this is a simple screen and roll with the center. At this point, you would have player 4 usually either pop out or set a pin down screen on player 2, and then player 1 would be using that screen, and then you would be essentially switching these players to keep at least the defensive players down low playing help defense. At least you'd be basically keeping them honest. And then player 5 would be rolling towards the rim, and player 1 could pass him the ball. Now, when would you want to run a Horns basketball offense? Well, you can technically run it against a 3-2 zone quite successfully. You can also really successfully run it against a 2-3 zone as well, because you are getting those high post players. Now, the reasons why you would be really good at running this against a 2-3 zone is because with this screen up top, and player 1, of course, using that screen and player 4 popping out, this is going to be moving the defense a lot. So now you're going to be having player 5 roll off, and you're going to be having players 3 and 5 most likely trying to cover player 5 so that he doesn't get that ball. When that happens, player 1 could take that 3. That is an option. He could also pass out to player 3 for a 3-point shot. And if player 5 was open enough and player 3 was kind of covering the middle where player 5 got that ball, what we could see is player 5 could take it to the rim, or this could collapse the defense so that now he could kick out that ball himself to player 3 for that 3-point shot. Essentially, against a zone, you really want to attack the paint. High to low post passes work as well. Now, one really great way that you could make this work is by passing that ball into the high post to player 5, and then that would lift up player 5 to defend, and player 4 would then be sunk down into that low post. At this time, what you could have is player 4 set that screen for player 1, who would then be cutting towards that rim, and you could have that pass to player 1 that would really collapse that defense so you could kick that ball out for a 3, or player 2 could basically drive baseline, cut baseline, and pass from 1 to 2 into that low post for the layup. These are some very, of course, simple Horns offenses, and of course, you can definitely run this against a man-to-man as well. Now, this offense does work best against a man-to-man defense, in my opinion, because again, you can have that screen up top. You would have that pin-down screen for player 2. Player 2 would be popping. Player 5 would be rolling. You could have a quick pass in for a layup. You could have player 2 coming off of that screen and be wide open at near the point for a 3-point shot. There's so many different options. You could even have player 4 set up a screen for player 5 who would use that screen. Player 5 would then receive that pass from player 1, and then we could have something like player 1 setting a pin down screen away, and then we could have player 4 setting up a staggered screen at the high post for player 3, and at the same time we could have a dribble handoff between 2 and 5, where now player 2 comes off that dribble handoff, player 5 is rolling towards the basket, and player 3 is popping towards the point, where essentially we would have player 2 either taking that 3, passing into player 5, or kicking it over to player 3 for a 3-point shot. Now, the Horns offense is becoming pretty popular when it comes to the NBA just because of all of the possibilities with screen and rolls. However, at the same time, this is an offense that works extremely well against a man-to-man defense and works, in my opinion, pretty mediocre against a zone. You can technically run most offenses against a zone. It just depends on how you're setting it up, to be honest with you. So when it comes down to it, if you're seeing that you're playing up against a lot of man-to-man defenses, you could run a Horns offense. The only thing is it is a set offense. So if you're looking to get some off-ball movement, there isn't a ton available unless you're telling your team to read the defense and cut back door when there's availabilities to do so. But also, it's a set offense, which means that they have to play within the confines of the offense, while I personally like to teach something like a 5-out offense, where we can get the players to kind of think for themselves and run a freelance style offense. That's my own personal opinions, however. I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Make sure to go check out my 5-out complete guide down in the description below, and I'll see you guys again next time.